Hey guys, Dr. Chernoff here, and welcome back to Statistics for the New Social Scientist. So a lot of times in life, people make bold claims about population means. And, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, and sometimes we want to figure out whether or not they're right or wrong. So in this video, we're going to talk about how you can do that using statistics. So we're going to use SPSS to do a one population test of proportions and test whether or not those bold claims are really true or not. So as you see here, I've got SPSS fired up and ready to go. So in this example, we're going to be drawing on the alcohol use survey. So maybe there's a president at your university who claims that on average, students drink a certain amount of drinks. Well, using data, using the experiences of real students, we can test that bold claim and see whether or not it's true or not. So to do that, what we do is we go click on this Analyze drop-down menu. We then go to Compare Means, and we click on One Sample T-Test. So we'll see this one sample t-test here. Off to the left, we're going to see a list of all of our variables. Sometimes it's helpful to look at those variables and read them using the variable labels. So that's the default in SPSS. Other times it's easier to just right-click on that list, click Display Variable Names, and now you can use your short variable names if you prefer that. So let's say I wanted to test the claim that on average students drink a certain number of drinks. So here I'll click on this drinks per week. I'll click on this right-facing arrow. So there's some other options here you can choose from. If you click on options, you can see it'll let you set your significance level. So I'm okay with the default, so I'm just going to click continue. The real feature we want to focus on is this test value. So here's where you enter in that bold claim that somebody in power made. So maybe somebody at the university claims that on average students drink 3 drinks on a typical week. So here we'll put in this value of a 3, and then I click this OK button. Okay, so here we have our SPSS output. So you notice you'll get several tables, but the table we really want to focus on is this one sample test table. So this table contains a lot of information. You'll notice at the top there's this test value equals 3. So that's the value that the person in power made a claim about. You'll also see that there's a description of the variable that we're focusing on. So here we're looking at that during a typical week. How many drinks do you consume? Just give your best estimate. Now, when it comes to the numbers that are in this table, we really want to focus on this t statistic, and then we really want to focus on this two-sided p-value. Now, you'll notice that SPSS also provides you a one-sided p. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to be helpful. It's trying to say, okay, maybe you're doing a greater than test. Maybe you're doing a lower than test. Maybe you're doing a not equal to test. So let me give you some of those numbers to help you conduct that test. The problem is that SPSS has no idea what your alternative hypothesis is. So even though it's giving you these numbers, you can't just look at them and immediately say, oh yes, that's the correct p-value. The problem is SPSS has no idea what our alternative hypothesis is. So we have to take these default values and manipulate them to really get that true p-value. So just to keep things safe and simple, we're going to stick to this two-sided p, and then we're going to use that test statistic. So what we'll want to do is we'll go to our flowchart. So here I have this flowchart. And again, depending on your alternative hypothesis, that's going to dictate which of these 3 paths you go down. So if you're doing a less than test, you go down the first path. A not equal to test, you go down the second path. A greater than test, you go down the path to the right. So, here we're making this bold claim that on average students drink 3 drinks. So maybe based off of your own experiences, you think that that number is too low. So your alternative hypothesis is that the true population mean number of drinks that students consume is actually greater than 3. Well, if that's the case, we go down this third path here, and then we want to look at our t statistic. So if we look at our t statistic, again, we see it's a positive number. So this tells us that we need to continue down the path. So we need to divide the value under the column two-sided p by 2, and that'll give us the correct p-value. So in this situation, our correct p-value is going to be that 0.179. Now we could be in a different situation. Maybe on average, you think that people drink less than 3 drinks on a typical week. So if that's the case, we're going to go down this first path. So if our alternative hypothesis is that on average people consume less than 3 drinks, we go down this first path. So is the t positive? In this case, yes, it is. So here what we do is we take that default two-sided p divided by 2 and subtract that from 1. So this will give us our true p-value. Now, you might also be in a situation where you think the person in power is wrong, but you don't know if it's that they're overshooting or undershooting what the reality of the life is. So then you can do this not equal to test, and in which case that default two-sided p is the correct p-value. Okay guys, so that's the video. So a lot of times in life, people make bold claims about population means, and we can test those claims using statistics. So specifically, we can use SPSS to do a one population test of hypotheses for a population mean. So the rest of the assignment is now up to you.